Tiller, WVON.
Speak blessings of health, blessings of wealth. And until I see you again, I'm excited about your win.
Everyone has to die when the time arrives, but a joyous heart will keep the memories alive. So let's share the best of us and give what's left of us, because true friendship is heaven's way of blessing us. Bringing victory, strength for your children. No one knows the right.
Welcome to the Sunday Playbook. You're on with Richard Boyk, and I'm coming to you live from Chicago. I have a little something in my throat, but we'll get through it. I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. I want to thank all of those who've called in already and tell you that we'll get to your calls. The call-in number is 312-705-5850, 312-705-5850. I must confess I've been doing a lot of talking today for some reason. I don't really know why, but yeah, I've been doing a lot of talking, and it's all good. God is good. I went to church today at Rock of Ages Baptist Church, Reverend Marvin Wiley, the greatest church this side of heaven. I want to encourage people. If you have not been to Rock of Ages Baptist Church in Maywood, please get an opportunity to come. It is a great church service. Today we had a guest pastor. He was from Oakland, California, but he preached on the theme of He is with you, meaning God is with you no matter what you're going through. And he talked about trusting God and having faith that He will bring us out. And so one of the things, though, that I thought was powerful in the message was, stand still in my salvation, and I will take care of your situation. The scriptural basis for the sermon was 2 Chronicles 20:15 and 17. I thought it was a great service, and I'm really grateful to have been there today in church. Look, today we have a very important program to talk about. I want to talk about the Bally's Casino and what's happening with Bally's, because this is a very important subject and topic, because the Bally's Casino promised to bring with them $200 million a year to shore up police and fire pensions. And of course, that's a part of the budget. Anybody who understands the Chicago budget understands, according to my good friend Joe Ferguson from the Civic Federation, that pensions and the debt take up 40% of our budget. And so they crowd out all other projects pretty much. And that's an important thing. Today, we're going to talk to an important member of the city council about that. Now, what a timely topic, because he sent the letter along with 20 some odd other aldermen to Bally's, demanding that they complete work on the new casino that they've promised. Basically stating that, look, if you suspend work on the casino, that's going to drive costs up. It's going to drive up material costs, labor costs, and everything else. But just a day or so ago, the company basically reported its finances, and Bally's had about a $4.5 billion debt as of June 30th. 4.5 billion with a B people debt as of June 30th, and reported roughly 265.9 million in negative operating cash flow during the first 6 months of the year. The company also recorded nearly 229 million in net interest expense during the first half of 2026. So what it's saying to me is that Bally's is in trouble financially. And if they're in trouble financially, then that means that the city of Chicago and taxpayers are going to be in trouble in Chicago, because if they can't make those payments that they're supposed to pay to shore up pensions, then that money's going to have to come from somebody, from somewhere. I'm pleased to have on the live line with me today one of the greatest aldermen in the city council. I consider him a friend. His name is Alderman Raymond Lopez. He represents the 15th Ward and has been doing a tremendous job of representing that ward. Alderman Lopez, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. You're on.
Thank you for having me, and a blessed Sunday to you and your listeners, my friend.
Well, we're so delighted to have you. I want to jump right in and
Absolutely.
talk about that letter that you spearheaded, I believe, with the other colleagues in the council to Bally's, basically demanding that they continue to work, that they do work on the new casino. I know that they basically gave an excuse because of video gaming and the expansion of video gaming. They wanted a monopoly in video gaming, but because the city council did not give them that monopoly, they have sort of said that they want to stop work. But I think they want to stop work because of their financial position in the marketplace is not a good financial position based on their latest earnings report. What do you say?
Well, I think you are absolutely correct, and I'm even going to take it a step back further to 2021, the year before the operator Bally's was chosen by then Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And in the proposals that were shared by Bally's at the time, and as many of your listeners may recall, Chicago has long fought to have its own casino license. We know that there are many licenses throughout the suburbs. Rosemont has several, Des Plaines and others. But Chicago, with its huge market, never had access to its own casino license. And in 2021, we were finally able to award an operator after acquiring our own license. And despite outrageous claims at the time made by Bally's, stating through Lori Lightfoot that they could be more profitable than all 10 of the existing operating casinos at that time in Chicago, they were awarded the sole operating license of Chicago to operate a casino on our behalf and to generate roughly $5 million a month in revenue that was meant to go towards our pension obligations, which are in the billions, many billions of dollars. That being said, they had a timeline when they were supposed to open a casino, which is on the other side of the Chicago River on Erie Avenue, the site of the old Chicago Sun-Times building, for many of you who remember where that was on Halsted, just before Grand Avenue. And unfortunately, they were unable to meet the metrics of what they had agreed to. We allowed them to operate a temporary casino at the former Medina Temple downtown, which has never turned a profit. And under the Johnson administration, led by Mayor Brandon Johnson, they even started opening up airport terminals as subsidiaries to the casino to try and generate money as well. All of that has allowed them to become the most unprofitable venture we have ever seen in the city of Chicago. And as Joe Ferguson, who you referenced, also alluded to, it's turned out to be another parking meter deal where a mayoral friend got a contract and has poorly executed the operation of a city asset, in this instance, the casino license. That brings us to our letters, which you referenced. I introduced a letter on Monday asking the Corporation Council to consider Bally's as being in default after they declared over the weekend that they were no longer going to be constructing the various parts of the deal, the hotels and things of that nature, as a result of video gaming. Then I and 27 of my colleagues signed another letter demanding to Bally's itself to continue on with its agreement, which, by the way, has been extended 5 times now since 2022, because they have missed the mark on every single deadline that they agreed to when they took over the Chicago casino license. And now they are blaming the yet to be incorporated video gaming in the city of Chicago as to why they are financially unable to move forward. Caught in the crosshairs of all of this is the fact that, one, they promised to pay Chicago $4 million as long as we never enacted video gaming, even though we know now that we could generate between $8.5 to $10 million a year from licensing and tax revenue from video gaming. So the only thing that we've ever said is, if we don't do video gaming, you owe us $4 million. But now that's not the case.
Well, so Bally's has not been profitable. I mean,
absolutely not.
Joe
Ferguson and the Civic Federation said that they would need to generate roughly $2.5 million a month to meet the expectations that they gave City Council and the mayor back in 2021 to pay for the financial obligations they committed to, as well as to build everything that they wanted to build. And generally, the Civic Federation has shown that they've basically been able to generate $500,000 to $1 million a month in revenue, far below expectations.
So what does this mean for police and fire pensions that I guess the casino was supposed to shore up?
Well, the short answer is that we have to pay our pension obligations no matter where the money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So if we owe $100, I'm going to use very generic terms. If we owe $100,
right,
let's say the casino was going to put in $20 towards that $100 payment. If we don't have the casino revenue putting in that payment, then it falls back on everyday Chicago taxpayers who are already struggling, who are already seeing diminished city service. They will have to come up with the money that was otherwise promised to them by Bally's.
Why do you believe the leadership of the city has not been quick to rectify this failed contract?
Well, I will say that I think from the Johnson administration, they inherited this boondoggle.
Okay.
So I can't necessarily hold Brennan Johnson's feet to the fire fully over this, because he basically was stuck with a bad deal that was signed by Lori Lightfoot when she was mayor of the city of Chicago. When she was mayor, the corporation council, the law department, and all officers of government told aldermen that we were not allowed to engage, ask questions, or try to intervene in this contract, basically stating that it was a violation of the state ethics law and gaming laws if we were to get ourselves more involved than simply voting yes or no.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
It is borderline criminal.
Yeah.
Because we were threatened with all kinds of violations, fines, and potential criminal charges if we were to try to influence Bally's or this deal. And then you find out 3 years later, they've hired her as their counsel. Lori Lightfoot now works for Bally's Casino in Chicago.
Well, isn't that the Chicago way? Isn't that the Chicago way?
For someone who was going to bring in the light, it sounds more like she brought in her own slot machine that she could rack it up. But clearly, the losers are the taxpayers of the city of Chicago. And right now, our goal is to do one of two things. Either hold Bally's to the deal they agreed to, which is what 28 of us want them to do, or, you know, as you know, Richard, and your listeners know me well, you know, I'm not one for holding back my punches. I say we take back the casino license from Bally's and find an operator who's willing to meet the mark for us. How is it every other casino operator in Illinois can be profitable, and yet the one that's owned by Chicago is sinking like a brick in water?
Were you shocked to hear that they're $4.5 billion in debt? Bally's?
We have seen the steady deterioration of Bally's over the past few years now. We saw how they failed to generate money when they did an IPO not too long ago. Recently, the Wall Street Journal reported a 9% decrease in their stock prices, and tied to the overwhelming debt burden that they are holding on to as they try to expand based on the vision of their, I believe, a former CEO. Bally's is in trouble. And as you stated, as Bally's continues to head downward, we're in danger of them taking the city of Chicago with them, because they own our license. They can now use our license as leverage, unfortunately. And as we saw with the parking meter deal recently, I'm sure they could find a way to leverage their debt in a sale of a casino takeover with someone willing to buy their debt for pennies on the dollar, shred their obligation, and then still have ownership of the Chicago casino license without the same metrics or clawbacks as is indicative in the original ordinance.
I think it's like you said, it's bad for Chicago taxpayers. And Chicago taxpayers, demand representation that's going to protect them and that's going to get them the best deal. Let's take some of these callers. I want to encourage other people to call in. If you're out there in Chicago, this is an important deal, even if you're not in Chicago, because Bally's may be operating in your area. But the call-in number is 312-705-5850, 312-705-5850. Let's go to Brother Chris. Brother Chris, welcome to the Sunday Playbook.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
And the alderman, shout out to the WVON family.
Yes, sir.
It seems like some of the last deals that the city made, who the hell was at the helm of the wheel? Because we sacrificed the people of Chicago for Lincoln Yards. We gave them all that money with the tips, and so we made them a priority, but not the city residents. The police misconduct settlements this year alone, I think they're over 100 million plus in the first 8 months.
More than that.
Hello?
Alderman says more than that.
Thank you for the correction. With the casino, also the people are hooping and hollering about the Chicago Bears instead of investing in the infrastructure of the city, beautifying the south side, beautifying the west side. But I see there's some Trojan horse things going on as far as by the Bulls Stadium, $8 billion oasis going to be built over there and probably gentrify, chase the people out who've been there. And then this debacle, the debacle with the last parking where they got their money within a couple years, and then the toll roads. I'm not getting it. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Brother Chris. Alderman, that you want to react to that?
Well, I think the short answer for our friend is that while the administrations, plural, whether it's Johnson, Lightfoot, Emanuel, or Daley, have led the charge in various fiscally questionable adventures, from the parking meters on down to seeing the Bears leave because we don't want to talk to them, or now with some of the data center things that we're chasing out businesses as opposed to recruiting them. The blame only goes so far with the man, because ultimately he has to have 26, he or she has 26 enablers that go along. And we've seen the Go Along, Get Along gang support many of these issues without question. And I'm very thankful that we now have a common sense caucus within city council who likes to question things and stop this mayor as we tried stopping the other before moving forward on some of these ventures that aren't fully vetted and don't necessarily protect the taxpayers, but only protect political expediency. And if you want better, then you make sure your alderman, whomever that is asking the tough questions and voting their conscience for you as your constituent, and not just doing the bidding of whomever happens to be on the fifth floor.
And those elections are coming up next year. Is that correct?
A mere 207 days away, but who's counting?
Love it. Karen, let's go to Karen. Karen, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. What's your comment or question?
Well, hello. I have a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one, we need to ask ourselves about the automatic prerogative. That was a no-no. Because number one, you put a bunch of people in charge of other people's money who's never really dealt with money, never ran a business, operated a business. And let's be real. It's like putting a little kid in a candy room. You have the ability to use another person's money to make a deal, and that's why we have so many empty lots. And they did it. Let's go to number two about the TIF funding and why it went to Lincoln. The reason why is because many of our own people that's in politics have used TIF funding for their personal business and their personal homes. And many of the politicians, the aldermen, couldn't stand up against that. So they had to let that money go out there because those guys would have told the truth about how many of our own people have used it for personal use. I'm going to just say this. The word pension explains it all. If you keep pension off of something, eventually it's going to go away. That's why they allowed the illegals in, because too many of us, our people, have begun to do the same thing that we accuse the white person of doing. We get multiple positions that come with multiple pensions, and we're at some point, when does it run out? But with the illegals, you can pinch off of their money and don't have to give them anything in return. And at some point, it's going to fall out. Another thing, with the Bally's, I don't know if you remember, the daytime talk show host was pushing the investment. The thing I want to say right now, instead of us pointing fingers at the aldermen and the politicians and this and that, let's all go look in the mirror. And let's all ask ourselves, how do we say we run the church and we love God and we hear this scripture, but we're so ignorant when it comes to the dealings of this world? And it is time to become intelligent. It ain't about black and white, gay, straight, none of that. It's about right, wrong, intelligence, and ignorance. And those that have gone to these schools, have gotten these titles, we seem to listen to. And I just tell everybody, especially if you're a black man or woman, go open your front door and go look out the front door and tell me what you see. Have a great day. Love you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Alderman, you got any comments?
God bless Karen. She came prepared today, but I will just say, what sums it all up beautifully is that all of this boils down to two very simple comments: knowing the difference between right and wrong. And if our elected leaders would just commit to doing what's right and opposing what's wrong, a lot of our problems would take care of themselves.
I agree with you. Let me thank the people on Facebook Live who are watching us. And let me ask this question from Chris Cage. Can you please ask Alderman Lopez? I appreciate what he did to get the flood victims some compensation for the double flooding losses last summer. Why was it only a maximum of $1,000 when many spent between $3,000 and $5,000? Also, how soon can we get that money? And what is the 3-year rebate all about? Alderman, you aware of that?
Yes. So great question. And that has to deal with a bill that Governor Pritzker signed on the southwest side at West Lawn Park, which allows some of our equity assurance programs to issue a one-time payment of $1,000 to help impacted homeowners by the floods of last year that happened in July and August. Your listeners will remember when we had thousands of homes hit back to back across the city of Chicago, in neighborhoods like Chicago Lawn and Gage Park and Auburn Gresham and others. Declarations of emergency were declared at the city, county, and state level, but FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, brought $0 to the table, leaving many thousands of Chicagoan family homeowners without any kind of assistance. The bill that the governor signed this week, sponsored by Representative Angie Guerrero Cuellar and Senator Mike Porfirio, allowed for this one-time change for us to be able to use these commissions to help put money in people's pockets. Is it enough? No, but in light of the federal government not stepping up as they have in other situations, something is better than nothing at this point.
Well, thank you very much for answering that. Let's go to Jim. Jim, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. We're so honored to have you on. What's your question or comment?
Well, comments. First of all, you're absolutely right. Ray Lopez is a great alderman, and people need to understand they need more people like him in the council and less of these Marxists that don't know what they're doing, and this is why Chicago doesn't do well. But also, I've got a good friend of mine. His name is ex-Senator Frank Lassay from Wisconsin, and he can tell you very well what Wisconsin did to fix their pension plan problem. So if you want to have him on for an interview, he'd be more than happy to call in and describe to you and the audience what Wisconsin did and why they do not have a pension problem while we do. There's a lot of things behind it, so you should have them on. And also, we talk about jobs leaving. That's really correct. The data centers, people are against it. Those are job creators. When my good friend of Obedelli, I talked to him about interviewing Gary Rabine because Rabine left Illinois, and people say, well, it's because he didn't want to pay his taxes. No, it's because he bought a building in Schaumburg that was very expensive, and he sold it for 10% of what it was worth. And you're paying like $100,000 for a building for taxes. So he's paying his taxes, all right, just in the form of property tax when you have commercial real estate. The same thing with all these Walgreens and these Save-A-Lots and these stores. The commercial real estate taxes for these properties in Cook County are an elephant. It's a killer. So people, you want investment, they got to invest in politicians. They're not going to keep jacking things around the way how they're doing currently.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. Alderman, I want to ask this question. Is the city pension crisis fixable?
I believe that it is, and it has to be, because the state constitution says that we must meet our obligations. We must meet our pension obligations. But I think there are certain parts of the pension that oftentimes are compounding our financial issues. For example, yes, a pension is a guarantee for service in the public sector. We understand that. But I think that one of the things that we need to address, and this even applies to my own self, who at some point may have a pension as an alderman in the city of Chicago, or even connected to my previous year's work before I joined Southwest Airlines working for the city, which is you have to address cost of living increases in a pension. I believe that that's one of the main drivers of a cost that we have, which is why oftentimes you see people who retire and within 10 years are making more than they did when they were working. You can't have automatic pay increases on a pension that puts you at 120% of what your retirement salary was. No one gets that in the private sector. And that's what I think lends to the system being completely unsustainable, which is that you are making these guarantees without putting anything in check to address that. And a cost of living is not guaranteed. Your end payment, whatever that percentage is, that is your pension guarantee, not the cost of living. And we saw this when Rahm Emanuel was mayor. He actually removed the guaranteed health care for people who retired at 55 for 10 years to float them until they became Medicare eligible. He took that away as a cost saving, and they sued, but the state determined that health insurance was not a guarantee of retirement, that it was an optional benefit provided by the city of Chicago. And I think if we look at the cost of living increase scales, then we could maybe have some wiggle room there. But I also want to say something too, is that pensions require employees to pay into a program to take care of the employees that are stepped out and retired. Healthy pension system, you need at least 4 working employees for every one that's retired at minimum. Right now, the city of Chicago is like 1.5 to 1. So for every person working, they're paying someone else's retirement. You're never going to be able to backfill the debt owed in the pension system if someone is constantly taking it as quickly as someone is adding to it.
According to experts, the city of Chicago has one of the worst retirement unfunded pension systems in the United States. For example, Chicago's total unfunded pension debt for its 4 core employee funds, police, fire, municipal workers, and laborers, reached $36.4 billion with a B.
Yep.
When including overlapping obligations like the Chicago Teachers Pension Fund, the overall local unfunded liability surpasses $51 billion. How do you come out of it? I mean, or is it just cut and paste, or is it just putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound?
Well, I I think even a gunshot wound heals at some point. This has been a wound that is just bleeding incessantly without clot, and that's the problem. Is that there's nothing cauterizing the wound, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what we have to look at is that there were mistakes made back in the Daley era with the help of Republicans, by the way, in Springfield, namely Jim Edgar and company, who gave the city of Chicago pension holiday after pension holiday, said you didn't have to make this payment, or you could avoid that payment to avoid tax increases. And all of that is like missing credit card payments.
Mm-hmm.
The credit card debt doesn't go away. Your payment just gets bigger and your interest grows. And that's exactly what's happened for the city of Chicago. We need to pay our bills, which is why the city council coalition that crafted its own budget last year told the mayor that we want, in addition to our normal payments, an extra $260 million paid towards our pension funds to bring that number lower, to start paying a little extra so that we could get ahead of ourselves for once. The mayor balked, but finally acquiesced this week, saying yes, he is going to make the full advance payment in addition to the regular payment, which is good news. But you're right. If we don't start putting some serious thought behind what we're doing, as you started at the outset of this conversation, 46% of our funding, of all revenue, goes towards debt and pension obligations. We are going from a municipal city service provider to a debt managing system, which at some point is going to not really be providing the services that residents expect on the streets, like your streets trimmed, your lights turned on, and your potholes filled, and instead just paying for debt that's been accumulating over decades of deficit spending, which still continues to this day.
Wow. Let's go to Brother Hall. Brother Hall, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, thank you for taking my call.
Yep.
And to the alderman, and I agree. He's one of the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know it, man. Listen, what bothers me, this is what really, really bothers me. And I'm sure, Alderman, you understand. I don't know if you can do anything about it. See, the game was brought up a while back with this retire early and then come back and get a contract with the city. You see more people contracted out with these jobs, and
yep.
Many of them are not doing a damn thing. Let me give you an example. The tree trimming. How did we let the tree trimming get away from us, bro? And you and Alderman, you can answer that. Now, I got a couple more things I want to say, and then you can respond. The tree trimming. You no longer have a superintendent. You have one, but he does nothing but collects a check. Where are the foremen? Where are the folk who getting all this money, from the city of Chicago? We know it's happening. And anybody that's ever worked for the city, that they're running game. I'll sit back and listen, brother, because of the sake of time, and I certainly appreciate. Keep doing what you're doing, Alderman. As many of us know, that your ward is predominantly black, I believe, and you've done a good job, and they love you. So if they love you, if they like you, we love you. So just keep it up, man. I'll sit back and listen, brother.
No, you had it right the first time. They love me, so you can love me too. It's all right.
A lot of love going around.
But, I will say, Brother Hall's correct. Right concept, wrong department. Because I will tell you, one of the departments that I find to be the biggest offenders of the early retirement and come back as a consultant is CDOT, to be perfectly honest with you. The Department of Transportation, which is responsible for streets, sidewalks, lights, you name it, has found more ways to squander money as of late. And this was very evident last budget when we were talking about aldermanic menu, which is the money that every alderman gets to invest in a neighborhood. $1.5 million, which I think totals out to $77 million or something like that. However, to supplement that, $77 million for projects, they also had to include $66 million for engineering and consulting work to approve all of those things. So now, if you think about when I was first elected alderman 12 years ago, if I wanted to put, say, for example, a stop sign on a corner of a four-way stop, I could just introduce an ordinance, boom, it's in, and up it goes. Mm-hmm. Now I have to have two peer review outside agencies, engineers and traffic consultants, tell me whether or not it makes sense to put a stop sign at a four-way stop without any other signage. That is ridiculous. And that we've seen how this explosion in, it's not even pinstripe patronage, it's now, drafting patronage exists not only in that department, but all these other departments. And yes, you are absolutely correct. If you want to start cutting down on the waste, fraud, and abuse in government and spending and put more dollars to work where they belong, you need to go after all of these third-party consultants and outside resourcing that we see all the departments do. And I'll give you another example from CDOT as well. They had another outside consultant which actually hired about 3 ex-commissioners of the department called Connect. And basically, they allow their staff to get work only on the weekends because they don't need to be in the office during the week because they could charge the city a double time rate if they have to come in on Saturday and Sunday, as opposed to if they do their work between Monday and Friday.
Wow. Interesting. Let's go to Billy. Billy, welcome to the Sunday Playbook.
Happy Sunday. How are you all?
Doing great.
Hello, Mr. Lopez, Alderman Lopez. Been knowing him for years when he was running and against Tony Folsom, he lost the neck race. And when they did the remap, he was able to get in because nobody in 15 Ward, was running against him. Okay, Mr. Lopez, I love you, but I love all aldermen just the same because I would put nobody on the pedestal. Okay, you're no better than the rest of them. And number two, first I called in regards to the Valley Casino.
Yes.
First of all, the aldermen, you all introduced us. We was and I am an investor, okay, because I did invest because you all sent letters out, and we met at matter of fact, I was over Honda with the Third Baptist Church. I think this would happen a couple of years when they had meetings. They had meetings various places now, Mackinac, Kennedy King, and all the aldermen was encouraging people to invest. Okay, so I am an investor. I received my paperwork from them. I also got a compliment for dinner, to the casino, and then I also got the contract. My problem is, what is you all doing? Because you all the one that was informing your resident, your extension to come to these meetings and become investors. So I'm going to sit back and listen to you.
Well, Billy, if I remember correctly, and it's great to hear your voice. As soon as I heard you, I put a big old smile on my face. If I remember correctly, the investment part was the community ownership of the Chicago casino operations. So that was so that we could make sure that individual community members could also profit from what was expected to be or sold to be this financially stable company that was going to operate the Chicago casino. That, I believe, still remains. Now, the problem that we see, as we see in all investment, is that if the company hits the skids or starts losing money or starts bad fiscal management, that impacts the shareholders. And as I said earlier, we saw that their stock price dropped 9 points this past week after their quarterly shareholding announced that they had $4 billion in debt and operating losses.
4.5.
4.5, excuse me, thank you. So that half a billion matters. So that has a negative return for you in real life, Billy, because then that means rather than making a profit, now your community-based stocks in the Chicago casino are going to take a hit as well.
And they may also take a hit because of the slowdown in the construction, right? Because it's going to cost more because of labor costs and materials. if they don't go ahead on and finish it.
Nothing gets cheaper the longer you wait in development, as you know.
That's right. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. What's your question or comment?
Good afternoon. My question was going to be to Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Why are they giving away the land? But he answered it. What I mean is, when I say why are they giving away the land, I'm talking about the 1901 project. It's a $7 billion project, and it's supposed to develop 94 housing units, 9,400 housing units, and only 20% is allocated to affordable housing. That's 1,800 units right there. And then the other project is called the 78. It costs $9 billion, I believe, and it's supposed to develop 10,000. Not 10,000. Yeah, 10,000 housing units, but it's only going. They're only going to allocate 20% of that. That's 2,000 housing units. But he answered the question when I was asked. He answered my question, which was, why are they giving away the land? They are giving away the land because of the pension problem. With the pension problem, he was right when he said about they were given more time. In 1995, it was called the Edgar ramp, or it's called the pension ramp. And what it does is it gives them time to pay their pension off. But what's happening is because, like he was saying, it takes 4 people to make up one pension payment. We don't have that. And the reason why we don't have that is because of our education, where we are graduating people below grade level. They don't have it. And if you look at the population of Chicago from 1990 to 2000, there were 1.1 million Black people in Chicago. After 2010 and 2020, if you go to Chicago 2020 right now, there's less than 800,000 Black people in Chicago. They are forcing us out of our own communities, and they are giving this land away to other entities, so that they will have that tax base to make up for the tax base that we are missing, because our schools are graduating them below grade level, and they can't compete with the other communities out there. And all you have to do is look at the medium income in those communities out there, in Englewood, in Auburn, Gresham, in whatever community. Look at the medium income, and then look at the medium income necessary to support city services and commerce, and you will see that the medium income is way below. And this is why we need all those subsidies from the federal government and the government in particular to support our communities. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Lewis. Alderman, you have any response?
I would just say that the other component to that, and yes, that was a beautiful summation of what we've seen. But the other component to that we also have to start looking at as well is the transformation of downtown from office commercial to residential. Excuse me. Because as we know, our property taxes in the city of Chicago are roughly $2 billion. I think $1.89 billion is what we charge taxpayers. And that's a mix of 60% commercial, 40% residential. So like your neighborhoods pay 40% of that, and commercial office space pays the other 60. Those buildings downtown, which used to generate high amounts of commercial property taxes, as they are transformed through TIF into residential properties, they're going to be seeing a decrease in their property tax bills, as they are now considered residential buildings. But the property tax owed overall and sought by the city and other agencies will remain the same, which means that burden, on top of everything else that our friend just mentioned, will also see an increase, as we saw last year, where it was like a 16% increase that will become the staggered norm as these buildings come offline and push the pressure back onto the neighborhoods on the south, west, and all points in between.
Yeah. What's going to happen, Alderman, with those vacant schools, the ones that are built for 1,000 students and they only have like 26 or 100 kids in them? What's going to happen with those school buildings? I know there's a moratorium on not closing, but
there's a moratorium on not closing since the Emanuel administration back in, what was it, 2008 or 9 or something, closed up those schools back then, 50 schools. But what we've seen is as the populations decline and shift, we still have a large number of schools that have almost 1-to-1 personnel to student ratios. Which, these buildings are not meant to be job centers. They're meant to be education centers. And how can you, as a student, learn in a group setting if you're the group of one in a classroom, or if you only have 18 kids in an entire building and you don't want to have real conversations about it? But I think that also brings up the same thing that the previous caller mentioned, which is our kids are not being educated. They are not meeting the basic minimum test scores of the state. And because we socially promote them upwards, we are failing them in our educational system here in the city of Chicago. And they won't understand why once they meet the real world and see that other people can read, understand math, and do other things that we've told them that they could do, but clearly we were lying to them while they were in our control. So we need to address that and have a serious conversation about what education means in this city with our new fully elected school board to set the tone and to really look at what we need to do to take the politics out of it. I don't mind that the CTU fights for its teachers, but maybe it should fight for education and stop worrying about all the Facebook-friendly topics about the Middle East and other things that they always bring up that have nothing to do with educating our youth as a deflection of their failures in the classroom.
Well stated. Let me ask this question, and we're running out of time here. Is City Hall really open for ordinary citizens to do business?
No, I don't think so. And actually, I say no, I know so, because of the fact that we still have nearly 3,000 city employees who work from home remotely as if we were still in the midst of the pandemic, because you have a mayor who thinks that anyone that comes to see a city department is storming the Bastille. And I've never seen as many police officers in that building as I have in the last 2 administrations. Quite literally, we see police will push people out of the lobby and off the sidewalk just so that the mayor can walk into his car or walk out. You have to go through, various levels of security. You have to have appointments. You have to, know exactly what it is and what you want. And if not, you're basically out of luck. That is not the friendly city of big shoulders, City Hall that we all know and remember, and where you could walk in and look around. It's very difficult nowadays if you make assumptions about everyone's technological savviness and think that everyone could just go online and find things. People need human interaction, and City Hall should be a place of positive human interaction, and it has not been that way for some years now.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it's very difficult to get things done in City Hall. And if you don't have an appointment, don't even go down there because they're not going to let you upstairs to see anybody.
And if you don't know, how do you make an appointment?
That's right.
You just come with a question. Hey, how do I get a fence? How do I get a fence permit, or how do I get a bus card? If you don't know where to start, no one's eager there to help you anymore. There used to be a couple gentlemen in that little booth in the lobby that would point you in the right direction as a greeter. Hopefully, whomever our next mayor is will bring back that position, because I think that was more of a help than anything that we have at this point.
Our friend Willie Wilson will do it. I'm going to take this last call, and then I'm going to let you go, Alderman. Let's go to Bill. Bill, welcome to the Sunday Playbook. Make it quick.
Thanks, gentlemen. Yes, as I mentioned last time, we need competent people holding the office of mayor and alderpersons. Now, with that in mind, in terms of Bally's, what can be done based on the contractual agreement as it stands so we can move that forward. In regards to affordable housing, that's needed everywhere. And in regards to the lakefront on South Shore Drive, again, that goes back to alderpersons and mayors signing off on a bad deal. That's beachfront property. Why would they do that? So we need competent people holding public office in this city and elsewhere as well. So
Thank you, Bill.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. And I can assure you, Alderman Ray Lopez is one of those competent people. Alderman?
Well, I will just say, yes, you need competent people. I think, but let me get them all right. You gave me 3 topics. For Bally's, there are provisions in the law which deal with defaults, which is what I asked the Corporation Counsel to investigate. If they are not able to meet the obligations they agreed to, then our agreement should be nullified and the license returned. As far as affordable housing, this administration, as did the last, think that the more you spend makes the more affordable housing, and we know that not to be the case. There's plenty of affordable, naturally occurring housing in a city built on 2 flats, 3 flats, and 4 flats all across this city. But people are afraid to rent because they know that the squatter laws are tilted against landlords. Or you have seniors who need help investing in their own property. So we should be focusing our money and resources on giving forgivable grants to those owners that live in their properties and want to be able to open them up. Lastly, with regards to the lakefront, you're absolutely right. The lakefront belongs to everybody. We should have citywide conversations, but obviously that's not always the case.
Final thing I'll ask you about, we're running out of time, teen takeovers. I know you had a plan on teen takeovers. How do you think the administration is doing at handling these teen takeovers with the superintendent leaving?
Well, I think, first off, let me just say Larry Snelling was a wonderful man, great superintendent. I've known him since he was a commander of 7th District in Englewood. And I feel that Mayor Johnson handcuffed him as opposed to allowing him to put the handcuffs on the teens, and more specifically, the parents that allowed their kids to run amok at 2 a.m, acting like Looney Tunes, as opposed to saying what we need to say, which is parents need to be held accountable. Now, that said, Mayor Johnson, who has said time and time again, enforcement is a sickness and that you can't arrest your way into public safety, he is flat out wrong. Because sometimes, yes, you can have good conversations and steer kids away, but there are other times you have to enforce the law. And if children are willing to the youth are willing to put their lives at risk, if parents don't care where their kids are, don't know, or not paying attention, or if you have adults trying to corrupt the youth through these events, they all should be dealt with swiftly, quickly, and consistently if you want to put an end to it.
I want to thank you, Alderman Ray Lopez. You're a knowledgeable guy. Thank you for your insight on Bally's Casino. Thank you for answering all those questions, man. I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you in the community. And we always look forward to supporting you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great Sunday.
Yep. That was a fascinating conversation with Alderman Ray Lopez, 15th Ward Alderman. What a great guy. I love him dearly and love his insight and wisdom. Also, I love the fact that our good friend Joe Ferguson, the Civic Federation, is all over the Bally's deal and their inadequacies and shortcomings. I want to encourage each and every one of you, don't be dismayed. Don't get upset. Always stay engaged and stay involved. And always remember, vote. A voteless people are a hopeless people. And would you please consider my friend Dr. Willie Wilson as he commits himself to serving as mayor of the city of Chicago. Thank you. This is Richard Boykin. If it's Sunday, it's 2:00. It's the Sunday Playbook. Please tune in and tell a friend. Thank you. God bless everybody.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 AM WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
What if you could have the most reliable